But first, the story you'll only see on 5. An Excelsior Springs man shares his story about how vaccines gave his wife permanent brain damage. The government is now giving the couple $7.4 million. KCTV5's Betsy Webster is live in Liberty, where it all began. Betsy?
Well, Carolyn Schutte came here to the Clay County Public Health Center to get a round of vaccinations. 2 days later, she was hospitalized with irreversible brain damage. Carolyn Schutte and her husband were avid travelers. They have album after album from around the world. But in 2011, when Carolyn was 58, those adventures came to a halt after a round of shots for a trip to Africa led to an irreversible brain injury that's left her in need of 24-hour care.
That gets very expensive very quickly because it costs a lot more than you might think.
Jim Schutte says his wife needs a hydration tube and specially prepared food. But despite all that, he remains a passionate advocate for vaccines.
The chances of getting injured from a vaccine are nothing compared to your chances of getting injured by the disease itself.
The $7.4 million payout awarded today by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services comes from a compensation program set up for cases where someone is injured by a vaccine. There's no judgment of fault, and the Schutte's lawyer says no one did anything wrong. He says vaccines work on the immune system, and a relatively small number of people's immune systems respond poorly. There's no way to tell if it will happen. Jim Schutte says his life has been forever altered, but he'd hate for his wife's rare reaction to fuel the growing anti-vax movement.
I think people are taking anecdotal situations like Carolyn's and making it into something it is not.
Now, Jim Schutte says that dollar amount may seem high, but it's actually spread out over 20 years' time in annual payments, and the only things it is compensating for are the loss of wages and that high cost of round-the-clock specialized home medical care. Live in Liberty, Betsy Webster, KCTV5 News.